I'm here representing RecipeSpotter. So the current market landscape for online cooking content leaves something to be desired for people on both ends of the spectrum, the recipe seekers and the recipe creators. One very common way that people find online content is just through search engine results. But with that, you're not necessarily getting the highest quality content. You're just getting the content that plays the search engine optimization game the best. And recipe creators themselves, a lot of them say they spend the majority of their time trying to optimize for Google rather than actually creating content. A lot of people find stuff through social media, but again, you're not seeing everything that's out there, and recipe creators don't like it because that's not what they're getting paid. They don't like to spend a lot of money and time there. And then you have places like All Recipes and Serious Eats that will publish content, but that's not really feasible for most creators. And so there's relatively few of them. And there are a lot of other problems that sort of touch on those issues. Market fragmentation. There's no one place that has every food blog that's out there. You just have to find them organically and then try to compare across them. And then there are platforms like YouTube and Reddit that have spaces for cooking put on there. They're competing with lots of other types of content. And if you're following any one blogger, there's a slow pace of content creation. Most of them only publish something once every few days. And then there's no way to save these sources. So when I talk to people, I've spoken with just general members of the community who are interested in cooking, and also food bloggers themselves. And what community members tell me is that they prefer aggregators. Very few people cited like a specific food blog when I ask them where they find recipes. Most of them say they go to Google or like a place like All Recipes or like social media. So most of them do use some kind of web source though, and they want variety. They don't just want like one type of food. They want different things every night. And they want simplicity. They don't want 1,000-word article for a 3-ingredient dip or something like that. And then on the food blogger end, their biggest concern is site traffic. They want people on their website because that's where they make money. They dislike social media because, like I said, they're not making money there, and it's just sort of a time sink for them. Every single one of them that I've talked to has said basically that they spend too much time on SEO. A lot of them say that's what the majority of their time is spent on. And so any solution that helps them connect with consumers has to be relatively hands-off. So that's where I came up with my solution, which I'm calling RecipeSpotter. Working tagline is the homepage of food blogging. So we connect recipe seekers with recipe creators by providing a curated listing of new content while allowing users to search through existing food blog articles. Bloggers benefit from increased readership, and readers benefit from greater selection of high-quality content. So here's what it looks like. This is a live website that I published just recently. I'll have a QR code at the end, you can check it out. But basically, these are all links to different articles on food blogs. This is the home page, and you see there are different tabs across the top. Right now I have vegan dessert and drinks, but that's likely going to change in the near future. So in terms of the business model, this is going to be driven by advertising. Just your typical like third-party ad agencies, AdSense, Google, and then partnerships with people who are interested in a cooking-focused audience. So like cooking retailers, bloggers who have physical products like cookbooks, maybe restaurants, anyone who wants to reach an audience of specifically like cooking. So the way I'm going to get this to the market is first just through word of mouth with the beta testing. Then once I get a more polished product, some digital advertising and social media marketing. Ideally, this would be ranked on Google search results, so I'd be playing a little bit of the SEO myself. So looking at my competitors, there are a few food blog search engines. That's sort of the kind of thing that I would want to implement down the road. They're cooking specific and they're hands-off for bloggers, but the ones that are out there are just drawing from certain databases and not actually looking at the entire web. And then there's no content, it's just the search engine itself. Google does search the internet and it's actively updated, but it's not really specific. For social media, sort of the same thing, have content, but it's not really specific. And then you have publishers like All Recipes and which is just their own content. They're not broader than what they can produce themselves. So just thinking about the financial potential, the average click-through rate for like food or restaurant ads is 1.1%, which doesn't sound great, but it's actually one of the higher ones in the industry. 40% of adults learn about food from web and apps. A significant amount of them are making purchases based on what they see online. And then top food bloggers can make over 90K a month. So nothing too, like, it's difficult to quantify like the value of the food blogging market, but you know this shows to me that like there is potential to make money in this area. So currently I'm prototyping the website. Like I said, it is live right now. So I'm just going to beta test right now with content that I'm manually picking out and putting on there. But ultimately the goal is to automate that process so that I'm drawing from stuff that's being created daily and then posting it on the website and developing all their finding resources. Thank you. That is a QR code that will take you to the website if you're interested.
All right, questions?
Can we go back to your website? Okay, so this just is a click through, it's a search engine. So I just click on it, it's going to take me to their website, correct? Okay, perfect. As someone, I like to always say that I love to cook. I am a huge fan of the 5 ingredient or less thing on Reels right now. I'm not a TikTok user because I'm too old for that, but I absolutely love to find my recipes there, and my kids and I share them back and forth because it's on the same platforms that they're on. Is that something that you include in this as well for videos that then link through? And then there's certain ones that I love to follow, and then I'll click through to their blogs on like amplifying the voice that way.
Yeah, so like, down the line, I would like to develop some way you can like subscribe to a particular blog. Like they wouldn't necessarily need to create their own platform. They sort of like Google, you follow a different source. So is that sort of one line?
Yeah, no, that's great.
So if bloggers are creating recipes to put onto your site, how do you assure the quality of those recipes? Is it through reviews of customers later down the road? Are you testing stuff?
So they're not actually creating content for the website. I'm just going out and finding stuff, and so I have my own way of going about that. It's looking at like reputable places, like sites that have large numbers of reviews. So it's not just like 5 people rated at 5 stars. It's like 400 people rated at 5 stars. Just looking at the whole thing.
Do you have a way to put a star review or review like on this as well?
Not yet. That is something I'd like to do eventually.
Last week, you mentioned some of the technical problems you were thinking through. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yeah, so right now this is all manually selected, and it's pretty time intensive to go through all the stuff that's out there and just pick however much to put on the site. So ultimately, I'd like to develop like at least a database that has reputable places that you can sort of like draw like whatever they made today, and then like that's what's on the page. So that'd be the near-term goal. That's not something I particularly have a lot of experience in, so it's just a learning curve right now.
So in some ways, I mean, this looks a bit like a search engine. What's the value, additional value you're offering above, say, like a Google? Like I'm thinking if I was searching for a recipe, what, what's the hook that I would want to use RecipeSpotter? first.
So with Google, there's actually some sort of counterintuitive incentives. The algorithm wants long form articles, like 3,000 word stuff, but when you talk to people, like no one wants to rebuild that, they just want to get to the recipe. So I'm selecting based on stuff that people would actually care about rather than what's going to sell the most rapidly.
So that's really your key proposition here, right? Is your ability to do that, to offer, to find those, to dig through all that content and find the real value in those individual recipes and bring it forward through RecipeSpotter.
Yeah.
There is, I was thinking, like you said, like, they always have to make such long articles, you have to read all about them before you get to the recipe, which is super frustrating. I wonder if there's a way, like, when you click the link, if you could skip all that. You know, sometimes there's a jump to recipe button, if you could do that automatically.
If there isn't a jump to recipe button, I don't look at the recipe. I'm like, oh, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, like the jump to recipe thing is just like a link within the website. So yeah, there's no reason I can't just have that be.
That would be nice.
So kind of going off what he was saying, eventually if there's enough recipes on there that it's like populated with tens of thousands of recipes, doesn't it, how would bloggers make sure that they don't have to optimize for your version of SEO? It's like eventually there's going to be a lot of listings if like you type in like baked chicken or something, there's going to be a ton of options for that. So how would you categorize your list based on that?
So I think that's sort of a good problem to have, I guess, because it means that the industry would be shifting more towards things people actually care about rather than what's arbitrary standard. So I think a lot of food bloggers actually don't want that. Like at the end of the day, they just want whatever's going to bring the most people to their blog. And if playing by a different set of rules helps them do that better, then I don't see the problem with that.
Are you familiar with schema.org? We might be getting into technical weeds here, but go look up schema.org. That's a consortium of organizations that publish standardized JSON and XML schemas for different data types. So they might have something, I don't think they do, but they might have something for recipes. What that would give you the advantage is you could look at any recipe website and understand the ingredients, the steps, the filler content, throw that out. If there isn't something like that, that would be a fantastic thing to propose and start working on, because every one of these companies would love to have, I would think, something like that where they can be assured that their content would be more easily consumable and found. So schema.org.
So, creating a website to find recipes, are you an avid chef yourself?
So this idea actually started out like way back as a social media app for drink making, which is something that I do have a lot more experience and passion for. But I decided that wasn't really broad enough, so I opened it up to all forms of cooking. Then I sort of dropped the social media part because I did more customer discovery and found that that's not really what the market wanted. So it's just sort of evolved into this thing over time.
Other questions?
How are those food bloggers making $90K a month? Is it just through advertising partnerships, or are there other routes as well?
It's mostly through their advertising. They will do partnerships, but from what I've heard, most of their money just comes from ads on the website.
I find that fascinating. Why are we all not food bloggers?
Yeah.
How can I be good at that?
If there are no other questions, I will ask our traditional final question. What can we as a community do to help you?
So on my website, there's a I can help tab right on there. If you want to give feedback on the website, there's a place where you can vote on like what tabs you would want for different types of recipes, and just any sort of feedback you want to give on the site. That'd be
And you want to put the QR code back up there for a second? Scan it. There you go. All right, let's give John a round of applause.